and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
but that's not going to happen. Instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Or at least that's what we used to do on this podcast. Although we don't regularly make episodes anymore, we still want to share our travel adventures with each other.
And we might as well record our conversation and share it with you.
Yippee!
This is episode 173.
And today, Ryan is talking about his trip to Spain. Spain,
And the
Spain,
Canary
Spain.
Islands.
And the Canary Islands. But you went to
Yes.
Spain.
I went to Spain. Yes. I think we
2
said this
times.
the last time we talked. Yeah.
Yes.
In less than a year, I have been to Spain twice when I had never been less than a year ago. Like the whole time we've known each other, my entire life,
I
I'd never
know.
been. And then I
Yes.
went twice in less than 12 months,
It's fantastic.
which is
I love
really
that.
funny to me.
Yeah, I know. That's so fun because you had talked about wanting to go after I had talked about it so much and
Yeah.
everything, and others on this podcast as
Yeah.
well, really.
Yeah.
And we did the last time you went. Okay, so we said you went because we were talking about our like recent travels since we had stopped putting this podcast out.
Right.
But before we jump into this trip, I'm wondering, could you give like a
Mm,
snippet of your trip last November?
yes, because that's true. We didn't do an episode on that, did we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I went, in November. It was a long weekend. It was a total of 5 days, including travel time,
Woo.
to Barcelona. And the reason I did that trip was the company that we have done several of our student trips with. They do a training weekend, a free training weekend for group leaders who lead the trips. And so I got to go to Spain for free. So I was like, okay, sign me up. So that's why I was in Barcelona. And so we were really only in Barcelona itself with like things to do for about 3 days. It was the fastest European trip I've ever done because there was a day of travel on one end and a day of travel on the other end. But we got to see all sorts of things. You and I talked about this a little bit,
Yeah.
but I absolutely loved Sagrada Familia.
Yay.
It was so much cooler than I thought. And we have talked on this podcast about our spectrum of like expectation versus reality of things.
The Mona Lisa to Redwoods scale.
Yes. Well, and
Yes.
the David, I think the David is on the Redwoods side.
Oh, yes.
I think we talked about that too.
He's close. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to make this new a visual scale sometime
We really
and
do.
identify
We
some
really
things
do.
in the middle too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because in the middle, I identified for me, the Sistine Chapel was right in the middle. It fit almost
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
with my expectations.
Oh my gosh, actually same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like it was impressive, but it wasn't more impressive than I thought it to be, and
Yes.
it wasn't a letdown for me. Some other people I've talked to, the Sistine Chapel was really a letdown, but in the conversations that I've had, it's often because of the environment more than the chapel itself.
That makes sense because it's just teeming with people.
It is, and people who just aren't very respectful and who are
Yeah.
loud and chatty, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of like my experience of Versailles. And that
Oh
actually
yeah, you
came up.
described that too.
And that came up actually in my trip to this more recent trip to Spain, because I was talking with one of my colleagues, Ashley, who has been on the podcast before. And she absolutely loved Versailles, but it's because she went when there was a time that there weren't a lot of people. And I did not love Versailles. And I think the big reason was because of how incredibly crowded it was. Like it wasn't bad,
That
but I
makes
did not have a
sense.
good experience.
That makes sense. It's kind of a game changer. Like
Yeah.
if you're like, listen, that was cool, but was it cool enough to like stand in a mosh pit, essentially? Yeah.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
think is cool about Sagrada Familia though, is I have talked it up. I
You
like,
have. You
and
have.
so there was a world where you'd be like, I mean, it was cool, but
Well,
given how
and to
much
be
you talked about
honest,
it, yeah.
again, I think you and I have said this, but for the benefit of the podcast listeners, we saw it from the outside as a whole tour group, but we didn't get
Okay.
like a tour of it as a part of the trip that I did. We saw it from the outside, and I was like, I
It's fine.
mean, okay.
Yep.
And I was not that impressed, and I was like, there's kind of a lot going on, and it's super busy, and
And it
isn't
kind of
that
just looks like a
exciting?
sandcastle a little
Yeah,
bit.
and because
Yeah.
there's so many different things happening, it was very like
Messy.
uh dissonant, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
messy. And
Yeah.
so I wasn't actually that impressed from the outside. And it wasn't until I did the tour and started to find out all of the details of what the outside means. And then we walked through those doors,
Mm.
and I was just like, oh my goodness. And I went in the evening. So the setting sun was shining through the stained glass windows. And so there were reflections of the stained glass from one side on the other side, and the colors and it was
Mm.
really, really cool. I
I
was
love that.
there until I think almost until it closed. And I ended up getting, I don't remember if it was my shoulders, if it was like a headache. Oh, I think it was my back. It was my lower back started hurting, and I couldn't figure out why. It's because I'd been looking up for so long
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that I started to get sore.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, it was really cool.
I'm
So got
so
to
glad
do a
you
number
liked
of
it.
things in Barcelona. Not a ton of stuff, but hit some of the highlights. Got to see some other Gaudi stuff, which I loved. I love Gaudi's style. It's so cool.
It's so interesting. Yeah.
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 And
So
then
unique.
I
Yeah.
think we figured out that the building that you went to for that like evening concert thing or whatever
Yeah.
that you talked about, I also went to the top of, because that was a Gaudi building, right?
Yes. And it has like steps that kind of go up and
Up
down in
and
like a
down.
big
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a jazz concert on that rooftop.
That
Yeah.
would be such a cool place to see a concert. I wish I had had more time there, but I loved it. I did a speed run through the rest of, 'cause you have to like go up like multiple
Same. Same.
floors,
Yeah.
and there's the museum, and it has all these things. I was like, yeah, I don't know that I really care about all these other things. No
Yeah.
offense, but I don't care about his life a lot, or blah blah blah. Great. Okay, move me on. And then I got to the top, and then got to see both the view of Barcelona, which is cool, but then also just the different location, like the different just kind of sculpture things. And it was very cool. It was
Cool.
very cool.
I love that. Yay.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
was
So
Barcelona in
that
November.
was Barcelona in November. And then you're like, now I can't get enough of Spain. And the next time I travel abroad, it's gonna be Spain or bust. And so here we are.
Or I had already decided on the Canary Islands before
Or
that.
that. Or that.
One
We
of
don't
the
know
two.
which one.
No,
It's hard to
there's no way
tell.
to know.
Yeah.
No way to know.
History,
Yeah.
it's lost to time. Yeah. Okay. So what was the reason for this trip? Why did you plan this trip?
This was another student trip. So I took students with me and two other teachers. Again, Ashley, who's been on the podcast, and then another colleague of mine, Ronica. So the three of us sort of led the trip, and we've kind of co-led the different student trips that I've done in the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, however many years. We've been doing those together since 2018. So however long that is. And we took a group of, I think ended up being 17 students plus several other adults. We had an older sibling that came who
Oh,
was
cool.
like in his like mid 20s, and three different parents that ended up coming as well. So it was a
Okay.
decent sized group. We were 23 people, I think, total. And we got to go to the Canary Islands. In case you don't know, because I didn't until I was looking at this trip, the Canary Islands are off the coast of Morocco, off the coast of Africa, but they are part of Spain.
Are they to the north coast of Morocco or the west
No,
coast
the
of Morocco?
West. The West.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
they're part of Spain.
But they are part of Spain because
Okay.
of, colonization and things.
I mean, yeah, Hawaii is part of the US, even though you wouldn't naturally draw
Yep.
lines together
Yep.
that way either. So,
And it's
yeah.
actually very similar to Hawaii in that they are most likely hotspot volcanoes. So it's a chain of
Ooh.
islands, just like the Hawaiian Islands, formed by very similar things. There's volcanoes on them. And it's a popular vacation destination for people from especially Spain and the UK. They will go down to the Canary Islands like we would go to
Mm,
Hawaii.
that makes so much sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Okay, so you planned it through the same company with
Hmm.
kiddos from your school. As
Yep.
far as I think you've told me before, it's like you need a certain number to sign up for it to even
Right.
happen or things
Yep.
like that. So you got that. And then
Hmm.
this was not too long after school got out, right? Like you kind of headed out right
Correct.
away.
Not right away. I've left much quicker, closer to
Yeah.
the end. School, the last day of school is a Friday. We left the following Thursday.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice.
So I had
Cool.
almost a week to prep, which
That's
was
nice.
great
That sounds
because there
lovely.
was enough time to just not be stressed and running around, but also we got to go while it's still feeling kind of like school. So, like, if we went now, it would be weird to be with students again, like in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then was this a science focused trip?
Yes. Yes, it
Okay.
was.
But
Yeah.
any student from your school could have signed up. I mean, everyone takes
Correct.
science anyway. So, but this was
Yeah.
like with the purpose of science.
Yep. And that's all the trips that we do. We
Oh,
try and
yeah, yeah.
have a
Okay.
science focus. The Greece and Italy one, the last one that we did, was more loosely science focused just because of the locations that we were going. We did a lot of non-sciencey things also.
It
Because I
seemed
mean, you
pretty
can't,
history heavy as well, I would say, when you
yeah,
talked about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we were still trying to do sciencey things. Like we went to the observatory and we went to the Galileo Museum and a number of other things that we were trying to do that was sciencey also. But yeah,
Nice.
this one was much more science focused.
Nice. Um, I love it. All right. So before we jump into like specific locations or highlights or anything like that, can you just tell me kind of big picture itinerary, like how
Yeah.
long and then like where'd you fly in and out of and at what point did you make it to the Canary Islands?
Yes. Well, I will talk more about the flights when we get into some more details.
Oh
But,
boy.
oh, yes.
Okay.
We were in basically three locations. We were in Madrid in the
Okay.
main part of Spain, and we were on two different Canary Islands. La Palma, which is one of the most westerly islands, and then Tenerife, which is sort of in the middle-ish.
Okay.
So it started in Madrid, flew down to La Palma, we're there for 2 days, flew across to Tenerife, we're there for 2 days, flew back up to Madrid to fly home.
So not much longer than a week then?
Yeah, I think it was 8 days, 8 or 9
Okay.
days. It was a pretty
Wow.
quick trip,
Yeah.
honestly. But it
Nice.
that was okay. I feel like it was the right. I mean, I could have used maybe another day somewhere in there, but
Yeah.
it was a good length
It
of
was
trip.
fine. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. For what we wanted to do and wanted to see,
Nice.
there weren't a ton of things that were really missed out on.
And then what was the highlight? Did you have a
I
single highlight?
I think my highlight was probably stargazing.
And it wasn't cloudy?
I want to tell the story.
Okay. Okay. All
I
right. So
want to tell the
start. All
story when we
right.
get there, if that's
Okay.
okay,
Great.
because
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
And what was the low?
Oh, I will say the low, which did not exist at only one point in time, was
Oh
the
no.
motion sickness.
Your motion sickness?
My motion sickness. But I was
Oh
not the only one who
no.
got motion sick on the trip, but I was the one who
Oh
was
boy.
the most motion sick the most often.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks.
Yeah. It was a
Dang.
pretty low.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So well then does this lead to the flight?
It's related to the flights,
Let's
yes.
jump on in then. Let's go
Yeah.
on this trip.
Our initial itinerary was Seattle to Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte to Madrid.
Okay.
And then coming home, Madrid to Dallas, Dallas to Seattle.
All right.
We were supposed to leave at 6 a.m. Our flight left at 6 a.m. on Thursday morning. But at about 7 p.m. Wednesday night, got a notification on the app that our first flight out of Seattle was delayed by like 4 or 5 hours. And
Ooh,
this was a
okay.
problem because it meant we were not going to make our connection in
Yeah.
Charlotte because we only had a 2 hour layover. So then it became an issue of, okay, so now what do we do? So I'm on the phone with a travel company, which is why I go with a travel company, trying to figure out flights. We can't figure anything out.
Oh boy.
And basically, we're like, all right, we're not going to go to the airport at 3 a.m. like we were originally going to. We're
Mm.
going to plan to be there by 9 a.m. and hope that they can get flights the next day. I wake
Oh.
up at 6 a.m. and I've got a text message from one of the people at the company, our local rep, who is amazing. And she's like, so they just found a flight. It leaves SeaTac at 8. Do you think you can get your group there by 8? And I looked at the clock. It was like 10 after 6 in the morning. And I was like, no, no, I do not. I was like, I would love to, but literally, I just jumped out of bed. Nobody knows to be there. And it leaves in
Yes.
2 hours. And now
If
we have
it
to drive through rush hour traffic to get
yes.
to the airport. Like, no, I don't think we
If
can
it were
make it.
you, you might be like, sure, I'm going. Let's do this
Right.
thing. But a group of
No way.
people.
No way.
Yeah.
So, and then it was mobilizing, and we had to call everybody to say, all right, just get to the airport as soon as you're able to get there, because whenever if they can find a flight, we just need to be there so we can get on it.
Oh
And
gosh.
so we were calling everybody in the group because it was like, I can send out like a text message, but people might be asleep. I want to be able to talk
Yes.
to people.
Yes.
Like, we just need to call people. So we split it up, called people, finally got together. And then because the teachers, we all carpooled. So then I finally left because I literally had not even like gotten dressed yet. And I was like, well, I'm glad I finished packing last night because I just grabbed my stuff and
Yeah.
out the door
Yeah.
and was like, I hope I didn't forget anything because I don't have time to check. And so
Yeah.
we get to the airport, and on the way, they had found flights for us, but they had to split our group up.
Oh boy.
So one group, my half, we went from Seattle to San Francisco to Madrid. Not bad.
Okay. No.
The
No,
other
not bad at
group,
all.
the other group went Seattle to LAX, LAX to Munich, Munich to Madrid. Less good.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bummer.
And they left about 2 hours before we did. Their flight
Okay.
did, but we arrived before they did
Yep.
because we just had less travel time.
Yeah.
And overall, like, there were so many more details that were very stressful and things, but we did all make it. And
Great.
we all were in Madrid by about within about 2 hours of each other. However, when we were flying over the US, like over about Wyoming, the Dakotas, something like that, we hit turbulence. And it was pretty bad turbulence. And it lasted for like 30 minutes probably. And I got airsick and I did
Oh.
not recover
Oh no. So the
the
rest of
rest of
your
the
flight
flight.
was like that?
The rest of the flight, I
Yeah,
was
you felt
nauseous.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
eventually, and this was with my anti-nausea patch that I was wearing. It did not work. I
Oh
ended
my
up throwing up
goodness.
2 or 3 times.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It was awful.
Oh, feeling not well on an airplane is so rough because you're like, there's nothing. I remember one time I got a nosebleed on a flight from LA
Ooh.
to Japan.
Mm.
And I was alone and in seventh grade.
Oh,
And I
Cheryl.
had a nosebleed for most of the flight, and it was just like, well, here we are. Like, I mean, it just was like,
Oh,
it was rough, and it was like even trying to figure out like what tools do I have available to me to like
yeah.
handle this situation better. And I'm not even prone to nosebleeds. It was wild. Yeah. So,
Wow.
oh my goodness. Yeah, it's such a tough time. But I know you definitely deal with nausea, like any
I
flight.
do. And as I've gotten older, it's gotten worse.
Oh, our sad, sensitive bodies. Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. So this is not the first flight that I've experienced. This is now the third flight that I have
Mm.
had this experience on,
Oh
which is
wow.
no fun. Landed in Madrid though, finally, eventually, and about a half hour after landing, I was good again once I
Okay.
was on land and had time to just kind of recover. So then we're good to go. However, because of all of these flight shifts, we lost a day in Madrid.
So,
We-
Ryan,
Yes.
did you not get churros and chocolate?
Oh, I got churros and chocolate, Cheryl.
Okay, good. I was worried about the
Yes.
churros and the chocolate.
That is that was the only thing that was on my list for Madrid was
They're like,
churros and
but don't you
chocolate.
care about these museums? You're like, I don't know.
I
Like,
do
do they have
not.
churros in
I
them?
do not. So so part of traveling with this company is we get a tour manager, a full-time person who is with us the entire time, who helps manage all of our details, our entrances and exits, our coaches, which is what they call the buses, all of that sort of stuff. And so she was able, in the one day that we had left, to get us to almost all of the things that we were going to try to do across 2 days.
That's
So it was a
impressive.
crazy intense day,
Yeah,
but we got to do it all,
amazing. Can you just
which was
list those
great.
things for me real quick? I know you
I
don't want to like dive
Yes.
into every one of
Yeah,
them,
I
but
don't
I'd
need to
love to
go into
just
all of them, but let
hear.
me just kind of scroll through pictures real quick.
Yeah,
So we got ice cream, which was great.
great.
Ice
Love
cream
that.
slash gelato. We went to a park and saw the statue of Don Quixote.
Ooh, was it a park
Um,
kind of near all those museums, like on that major street?
I don't know because that was
Okay.
the day we arrived. It was like right across from our hotel, wherever we were.
Oh, okay.
So, and we weren't there very long, so I didn't have a
Okay.
lot of time to orient myself to where
Yeah,
everything
yeah, yeah.
was.
Okay, yeah.
And I wasn't navigating, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we were just on a bus and going here, and I didn't
See,
have
I've
to pay
self-navigated
attention. So,
Madrid because I've been there alone for a
yeah,
couple of days, and so that's
that's
just
very
so
different.
different. I'm like, I
Yep,
I know some maps of Madrid.
yep. And then
Yeah.
we got to do a walking tour of the city of Madrid, which was
Okay.
great. It was super
Cool.
cool. And our tour guide talked about a lot of the architecture and how, like, as we go down the main street, how it changes based on when the buildings were built. Lisa would have
Mm.
loved it. Your sister,
Yeah.
she's an
Yes.
architect, but I even found it super interesting to like see these different architectural features and things. And there was on the outside of a bank, they had recreated a some sculptures that we had seen the actual ones of when we were in Greece last year. So that was really cool. It's like, wait, I've seen
Oh.
that. I know where that is.
Oh, that's really fun. I love that.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Nice.
So let's see, we did that. What else did we do? More parks, cool things. We went to the Prado Museum,
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah.
which was fine. You know, I'm not an art person.
Okay,
And
so that was
so,
the one I had told you about that I didn't see these two floors of that then later I heard about and I was like, I wish I had gone to those floors. It's the artist who is the painter for the royal family for a while and painted
mm-hmm.
all these like things that they told him to paint of like happy family and bright, colorful, smiling. And then after he died, they discovered all these paintings in his home that were like the truth of Spain and like dark and depressing. So at the Prado, there's like one floor with one and one floor with the other. But it's so massive, like I didn't know that going into it.
No.
And so
And
then
then,
like, yeah, later,
and
and I
we
was
had
like,
a
oh, I would like
tour.
to see that. Yeah. So you
So
had what
we were
about a
on a
tour?
tour, and it
Mm-hmm.
was one of those where it was the same gal that did the tour for us through the streets, and so she was great. But she
Mm-hmm.
starts to go into all of this history, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I do not care about whoever the king was or the prince or the whoever about this table. I swear she talked for like 15 minutes about this table. I'm like, I don't
Oh.
like the table's cool and all, but I don't care about the table. Like I'm not
Mhm.
interested. Which is there were some of the students that were super interested in all of the art because
Oh,
they're
cool.
into art stuff, which was great. But we
Happy
ended
for
up,
them then. That's cool. Like on a science trip
yeah,
that they got like a different subject in that way too.
yes.
That's really
But
cool.
we did give some feedback to our tour
Mhm.
manager who then talked to the tour guide to be like, hey, we don't need quite as much detail.
Mm.
We want to see more. And so she did
Yes.
actually adjust, which was
Oh,
great.
cool. That's
So we
great.
actually got to see way more than we would have of the Prado and got to see some cool things that I
Nice.
enjoyed. Now I'm trying to remember what the guy's name was.
It's a
Because
big
this,
museum. It reminded me of the Louvre in some ways, where you're just like, oh
yeah,
my gosh, this place is massive.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was really big. Oh,
Nice.
but that's right, we couldn't take pictures in there. I was like, why can't I find pictures? Because we weren't allowed to take
Oh, there
pictures.
you go. Okay, so you went there.
Yep, we got to see a whole bunch of stuff, which was cool. This was when
Mm-hmm.
we were dealing with one of the other students who was sick and
Oh,
throwing up. So like I was in and out of like toury things and then coordinating with another teacher, to try and figure that stuff
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But we got to do that. Then we got to go to another park. We got to take the metro, which I always find
Oh,
fun.
fun. Yeah.
Got to take the
Nice.
metro. And then we got to go to another park that I don't remember the name of, but it starts with an R.
Oh, that
I keep wanting to call it Rialto, but that's not right. That's the
that was
bridge
what
in Venice.
my brain went to Rialto as well. That's
Yeah,
really
but that's
funny.
not it. Let's see. Where's the information? Will this tell me? It's called the uh, Retiro, Retiro, Retiro Park. That's what it's called.
Oh, it's so that's the one I was thinking of. It's
Oh,
really
okay.
big. The
It's
palace is
huge.
in it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And so we got to spend some time there, and some of us rented these, I don't know what to call them. Like, buggies isn't the right word because they're like bikes, but they're like four wheels and you can have multiple people in them and multiple people biking them.
Oh, yeah, that's like a tour. It's a classic touristy thing. I can picture those in different like
Yeah.
cities I've gone to.
Yeah. So here, there's a picture.
I need to see this. Oh, cute.
So
Oh, but it's
several of
not
us,
like biking in the way I picture biking.
well, it's because only the front out of the four actually have pedals. Or sorry, only the back out of the four have
Okay.
pedals. The front two
Yeah, yeah.
don't, which was weird to me. But so we got to kind of go through some of us went through the park on these, which was really, really fun.
I love it.
So we got to kind of see some more things. And we got to a part where, oh, I'm going the wrong direction, where there were all these peacocks, which I don't know if you got to see peacocks when you were in Madrid.
No.
But there were like all sorts of peacocks. It was this like garden with just peacocks wandering around.
Oh my
It was
gosh, I love
gorgeous.
that.
Oh yeah, it was
That's
beautiful.
so
It was super
fun.
cool. So that was really fun.
Nice. Love
Some
that.
people did the rowboats on whatever the like man-made lake thing is in the
Okay.
park,
Yeah.
which was fun. So that was cool. So we got to spend some time in the
Okay.
park. Let's see. And then we went to the Royal Palace,
Okay.
which I enjoyed. It was similar to Versailles, way fewer people. So I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where I ended up doing the audio tour that I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Oh no, that was before we started recording. That's right. So you showed me a picture of you and your sisters at Stonehenge with the
Yes.
audio tour where it was like that wand that you hold up to
Looks like an
like
80s
one ear.
I mean, an 80s home phone. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this audio tour had an iPad and it had
What?
like it was almost like YouTube videos. And so you put in the headphones and it would like tell you where to go and it had a little map that you could follow. But the
I
thing that I
love that.
loved about it was you could skip ahead.
Oh, that's the best.
So like I could listen and then as soon as it was like, and the king of so and so in the receiving room where they would receive all of these
Next.
nobles, I was like, click,
Next.
moving on. So I could move at my own pace. Because
Mm,
that's the one thing I don't like about audio guides is sometimes they kind of drone on about stuff that I'm like,
yes.
I'm not that interested. But other times they say things and I would rather not read. I'd rather not read the plaque
I'm the same.
because
I'm the same. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so this was a great version of an audio guide. So if you ever have a chance, find out if they have
That's
like
really cool.
iPad
That's
audio
a great
guide.
way to like advance technology with it too. That's really cool. It makes so
Yeah.
much sense. I
Yeah.
love that.
So got to see the Royal
Cool.
Palace, which was really fun.
Okay.
And then where did we go after that? I think that was the last thing that we did all together. And then they got to do some shopping. And then for
Okay.
dinner that night, we got to go to a tapas location, sort of.
Wonderful. Okay.
Not like actual tapas the way the locals would do tapas, where you'd like go from place to place and have a thing and grab them and do the toothpicks and all that thing.
Yeah.
It was like this was like a set dinner that for a whole group to sit down and they brought us, but they brought us like the tapas food at least, which was
I
cool.
think both can be called tapas though, because
Oh, okay.
that's kind of like a style I've just seen that you can order in restaurants. You order a bunch of
Mm,
little things, but you're
yeah.
sitting in one place as like a sit down meal, but you're gonna
Okay.
get a bunch of like small plates as your
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah. So that
That's
was
so
fun.
fun. Yay.
Yeah.
Did you learn that tapar is also a verb?
I mean, that makes
You
sense.
can say like
Is it
vamos
like
a
to
tapar.
taste or what?
No, it means like let's go have tapas, but it's
Oh,
a
to have
verb.
tapas.
Is vamos a
That's
tapar would be
funny.
like let's go.
Let's,
It'd be like
yeah.
saying let's go happy hour, and happy hour is a verb. It's like
Yeah.
that. So it's kind of fun.
Okay.
Makes me
That's
happy.
funny.
Yes.
That is fun. And then we did do churros and chocolate
Churros and
that night.
chocolate. Where
So
did you
what you,
go?
well, this is the thing. We went to where our tour manager took us.
Okay.
I have no idea if this looks
San
right to you
Ynez,
or not.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, since like the
Good.
18 somethings.
Yeah,
And
I
you
think
saw
so.
did you see the big machine that like makes it in a
So
big swirl,
I
spirally?
didn't because there are two, they actually have two locations now.
Oh, fancy.
It's the same place, but we were in line to the main one and then some guy came and got us and took us to the other one. It's just
Oh,
like it's like you
interesting.
can see one from the other. But just
Oh,
because and then
okay.
there weren't people at the second spot, so it was just
Yeah.
faster and especially since we were a big group.
But isn't it
But
funny how it's curled?
yeah, oh my gosh, I loved it, Cheryl. It was so good.
Isn't it the best ever?
It was so good.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
so good. I loved
Yes.
it. And so we shared, me and Ronica and Ashley. We like
Good.
just got
Yeah.
an order because it
Mm-hmm.
was, late at night or whatever. And you get like the chocolate in a little cup. And so we dipped and we ate and we dipped and we ate. And then the churros were gone and there was still lots of chocolate left. And they were like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, they didn't want it. They would just like throw it away. I was like, no, 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 we're not gonna like this isn't gonna go to waste. They're like, what, are you gonna drink it? I was like, yeah. So I drank the rest of the chocolate.
I love it. My
It
sister
was
Lisa
so
did that,
good.
actually. Yeah.
It was so good. They're like, oh, I can't. It's too rich. I'm like, it's chocolate.
You're
Come
like, that
on
never
now.
stopped me. Don't you dare.
Mm-mm,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
it
Love
is
it.
thicker than like a hot chocolate,
But
but
there
it's
are
not.
places that do sipping chocolate that is maybe a
Yeah.
similar
But even
texture
it
or
wasn't.
thickness.
I wouldn't say it was too thick to drink though.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was. It was just thicker, but it was so
Hmm.
good. It was
I
so
love that.
good.
Yay. I'm so
So
glad you
yeah,
went there. So that
yep.
was Madrid.
That was Madrid.
We
Pew, pew,
just
pew,
jumped
pew,
in a lot.
pew.
But yeah, I went with you on that whirlwind. That was great. So
Yeah,
then you're on to Canary Island #1.
Canary Island #1, which is La Palma.
Okay.
Yep, and it's tiny. I mean, it's
Okay.
not a big island. Our plane is landing. It's about a 3 hour flight from Madrid to La Palma, and there's only one airport, I think. At least there was the one that we went to. And as we're landing, I'm looking out the windows on one side, and I see like land, and I look out the windows on the other side, and I see ocean. I was like, I hope there's land underneath us because there's ocean on one side, and literally the airport is like goes right up to the ocean.
Mm.
So this is the view right outside
Oh my gosh, I
of the
love it.
airport. So like there's these giant windmills. That's the Atlantic Ocean. The runways are just off to the right.
Okay.
And there's, just like a few little gates. There's runways. There is a runway. There's a single runway.
Okay, got it.
It's
So
not
like
it's
small
not big.
town, yeah,
Yeah.
small airport.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then we drive, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes to get to our hotel.
Okay.
And Cheryl, so this is like we're driving through the town. It's
Oh, it's so
beautiful. It's
cute.
so cute.
I
It
love
like
it.
had
It's
so much personality.
colorful.
Yep.
There's
Not
all
super
these,
busy.
yeah, like sidewalk restaurant seating. I love that. Palm
Mm-hmm.
trees.
Yep. This is the view out of my hotel room,
Oh,
Cheryl.
Oh,
It overlooks
holy
like the
moly.
pool area, and there's multiple pools, and there's some trees, and then there's just the ocean
You
right
could
there.
run from the pool to the ocean in
Oh yeah,
like
no problem.
a minute?
Except it's like down. It's like,
Oh,
but yeah.
so you might
And
hurt yourself.
some people had rooms on the other side of the hotel, and it just looked over the ocean. Like the ocean was
Oh my
just right
gosh.
there. So I think it was
Amazing.
like, again, maybe like a 5 to 7 minute walk from here down to the beach.
I love
It
that.
was a black sand beach.
Ooh, I love black sand too.
Oh yeah, gorgeous. So we went down. It was kind of windy, but it was beautiful. And so here it is. Here's the beach. All the black sand. There's all of this just basalt rock just kind of rising
Mm,
out of the water. The water's super blue. The waves are crashing over it. It was just beautiful. It
that's
was so
gorgeous.
cool.
So are you more
We're-
okay with a sandy beach if it's black sand and cool
Oh yeah.
rocks?
Oh yeah. And there's like, and you can see from these pictures, there's hardly anybody else on the beach too. It's
Yeah,
not super crowded. It wasn't
I
super
love it.
warm, and it was pretty
Okay.
windy. So
Yeah.
that was probably part of it. But it's just like,
It's so
that's just a little
beautiful.
video of just the
Oh my
waves just
gosh.
crashing over. It was beautiful. We
Gorgeous.
all loved La Palma. It was great. There's crabs. They had these really cool, like reddish black
Ooh,
crabs that we saw all over the place.
that's a fun crab.
It was really
Nice.
cool. So it was very, very cool.
Amazing.
Yes.
All
So that
right.
that that was La Palma, and we just kind of hung out and then got to spend some time at the beach that night
Okay.
for a while. Had dinner. Then we got to go to the stargazing, and I told you there was a story because I don't know if you noticed in the other picture that I showed you, but there was like a big bank of clouds just kind of hanging over the ocean.
Oh, okay.
That bank of clouds came in
Mm.
and covered everything.
Because that's what clouds like to do when you travel across the
That's
world to look at the night sky.
Yes. And so we were like, okay, so what do we do if it's cloudy? Like, how does this work? Because obviously we can't see anything if it's cloudy. And our tour manager said, well, they said they have a couple different locations, but that we'll probably be okay. And we are gonna go up into the mountains. So we're not doing it like from
Mm.
the beach. We're like going up into the mountains to see stuff. And so we're driving up, up, up until eventually we are in the clouds. I'm going to show you pictures again.
That's fun.
So we're like literally driving
Ooh.
into the clouds because of how
Yeah.
high we're going, and we're winding around. And then we go into this tunnel, and all of a sudden I notice that it looks like there's literally light at the end of the tunnel. And as we get closer, I'm like, "Oh, you're kidding, right? There's got to be." And then I took a video of it as we were getting there. I don't know if you can
Okay.
see.
Yeah, I see like rocks out there and then just light.
Those are trees. Those are not rocks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, but you can see the light from the setting sun shining off of those trees. So we go in
Yay.
on one side and there's clouds, and we come out on the other side of this tunnel and it is totally clear.
That's so exciting. What a
It's
relief.
totally, and the video is taking a little bit to show here, but like I don't know if you can tell, you can see like the sunset on
Yeah,
the
it's
trees,
gorgeous.
and it's beautiful, and like not a cloud in the sky. You can hear us clapping on the bus.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
'Cause
I love
like
it.
nothing.
That's amazing.
It was so cool. It was
That's why your
great.
tour guide's like, yeah, I told you you would be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
Cool.
then we go to this spot that is absolutely gorgeous, and it's up here in the middle of the mountains, and again, not a cloud that we can see because both we've been up high enough and then we're on the other side of the mountains. So the clouds don't
Mm,
go up and over the mountains. The mountains
that
form
makes
that
sense.
barrier. Now
Yeah.
we're on the other side. And there was no light pollution. There was nothing. We couldn't see any light from any city, and there was nobody else up there. It was silent. It was
Mm,
so just like calm and relaxing and serene up there. because it was quiet, it was clear, it was beautiful, and we're just like, we're
Mm,
the only ones up there. And then they
that's
bring out
magical.
these 3 telescopes that they set up before the sun sets, and we just kind of wait as things slowly get darker and darker, and then we start to see some stars, and then we see some
Mm,
more stars. And then she starts to kind of talk about some stuff and show us some things, and the next thing you know, you can start to see the Milky Way. And as it gets
mm.
darker and darker, you could see the Milky Way over the mountains. Oh, it could not have been more perfect. It was so great, Cheryl.
That's
So
so
that is
cool.
definitely my highlight.
I
It
love
was
it.
so incredibly cool.
Can I ask you a stupid
Like,
question?
yes.
This feels like our other podcast, our science podcast now. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what I know about seeing stars from different parts of the world, and then you're gonna
Yeah,
fill me in.
great.
I think if you were in the southern hemisphere,
Hmm.
the night sky would look different.
Hmm.
But I would feel like that also depends on the time of year, just like it would depend on the time of year here ish for like what that looks like. But it would it look different if you're like where we live or in the southern hemisphere. But then if you're in a different part of the world, but the same like still in the northern hemisphere,
Right.
then would it look the same because if you're like a similar latitude, because then it's just a different time of day, or not time of day, just literally a different moment when that part of the world is
Mm,
facing the night or getting nighttime,
yeah.
but it would be facing the same direction if you're getting similar latitude. I think it's a latitude thing. That's my theory. Tell me what I
Your
don't know.
hypothesis.
Yes.
It is the latitude thing. You're exactly right. There are some constellations that are called circumpolar. Circum, like to circumnavigate, like to go around in a circle, and polar as in the poles. So there are some constellations for us in the northern hemisphere. The Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, so the Big and Little Dipper, are circumpolar. Cassiopeia is circumpolar. Some of like the major ones that we will see them all year, no matter where you are in
Yeah.
the northern hemisphere, you see them. The southern hemisphere has some circumpolar stars as well. I don't know those as well because I'm not from the southern hemisphere, but like the Southern Cross is a great example of one that they see all year. Then there are constellations that change depending on the time of year. Orion is a really great example of one. We only see Orion in the quote unquote winter. It's not like just during the like 3 months of winter. It
Mm-hmm.
bleeds longer than that, but it's considered a winter constellation. But you can also see Orion during the winter in the southern hemisphere, which is, of course, the opposite season
Oh,
for us,
yeah. Yeah.
right? And so there are constellations like that that you can see no matter which hemisphere, but it depends on the time of year when you're going to see those.
Okay.
The closer you get to the equator, the more constellations from the other hemisphere you're able to see or see part of.
That makes
So, for
sense.
example, you can see the Southern Cross from the equator. It's just you can't see it all the time. It's not circumpolar. It rises and it sets if
Okay.
you're on the equator. So like I saw the Southern Cross from Ecuador when we went to the
Okay.
Galapagos Islands in 2019. Even though technically we were like either on the equator or just north or just
Yeah.
south, depending on
It
exactly, we were
was
like
so
right around
close.
the equator,
Yeah.
but I could see the Southern Cross during parts of the time, right? And you can also see the North Star as well. And you can see like
Okay.
the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, depending on exactly where you are. The latitude of the Canary Islands is very, very similar to Florida, like Orlando, to give you a
Okay.
reference point
Got
for
it.
the US where you might know it better. So it is farther south, but it's not crazy farther south. So we didn't really see any southern hemisphere constellations, but there are a couple of constellations that don't get as high from where we are here in Seattle that we
Mm.
could see better when we were there. For example, Sagittarius and Scorpio, both
Okay.
of those constellations, which you can see from here. I've seen them from here, but not super well. They're really low on the horizon. They were a lot higher and a lot easier to see.
That's exciting. I
Yeah,
love that. That was probably
yeah,
really exciting for you then to have like a different experience
it
of the night
was.
sky.
Yeah, yeah. And it
That's
was
so
just,
cool.
I mean, it's just, and the students had a great time too, which that's the other thing for me. I love it, and I was going to love it regardless, but the students really enjoyed seeing
Oh,
all of the stars and all of the thing, and seeing the Milky Way. And for some of them, that was the first time they saw the Milky Way,
oh my gosh,
which
I
is
love
super
that.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
so cool. Oh
yeah,
my gosh, how fulfilling. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Well,
It was
thanks
a
for our mini episode of I
great.
Slept Through Science.
You're welcome. Do I give you a quiz now, Cheryl?
Yeah. Yeah. You can do one question because it was a mini episode.
Okay. See, I haven't prepared a question. Shoot. Um, well, you already know the answer to this. What?
Circumpolar.
That wasn't the question.
Oh, dang it.
You're wrong. I was gonna say, what determines which constellations you can see in the sky?
Time of year. And if you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere.
Yes, or latitude.
Oh, and latitude. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. That makes sense because the universe revolves around the earth. So like it's
correct.
gonna revolve a
Definitely.
different direction at different
Yeah.
times. Yep.
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 That's 100% correct. There is nothing wrong with that perspective
Great.
at all.
Love it. Great.
Yes.
Okay, so then anything else we did on this island before we hop to our other island?
Yes, because that was only one day.
Oh my
So the
goodness.
the other day we went to the observatory, which was even higher in the mountains.
Oh my
And
gosh.
this was the other low point of the trip for me, unfortunately, even though it was the thing I was actually looking forward to the most, was going to the observatory, because two things happened. One, we were on an incredibly windy road,
Oh.
which meant I got motion sick again,
Oh man.
which was not fun. And two, there was a miscommunication with the tour company. And so when we got there, we got to tour their visitor center, but
Hmm.
we didn't actually get to tour the telescopes that were at the observatory,
Oh,
which was a
that's a
real
bummer.
disappointment and bummer
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. Those things happen. So it's like I'm not
Sure.
upset.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed.
Hmm.
But it's true. Like I wasn't mad at anyone, and when we figured it out, they tried to figure out ways to make it work and it just wasn't able to happen. But it was especially disappointing for me because of how awful I felt, that because it was about 2 hours to drive up. I think 3,000 meters above sea level
Ooh,
at that point.
yeah.
So we're above the clouds, like, and not just a little bit above the clouds. Let me see if I can find a good picture that does a good job of kind of capturing how far above we were. I don't know if this does a good job or not, but we'll try this and see.
Oh, cool. It
So like
looks
the
like the clouds
clouds
are the water.
are the ocean. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we are so far above them.
Wow.
Like, so like we are really, really high, which was really cool. And again, the view was gorgeous. And that's a little bit better view there. You can see like the cloud, you're
Cool.
looking down on the
Yes.
clouds by a significant margin.
That's
And it
so
was
cool.
cool. And we did see the telescopes from afar. I'll click through here, get some, like there's there in the background.
Oh yeah.
See them? They're right up
There
there.
they are.
And there I am. But that's as close as we got,
Mm. Yeah, that's a
which was
disappointment.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then anything else you want to highlight before we jump to our next island?
I think for that island, like there were a few other things that we did, but I think that was the bulk of it. That was the
Okay.
cool things. It was really
Nice.
cool. Everybody, maybe not everybody, but the people who spoke up, they all enjoyed La Palma Island the most of everywhere we
Oh,
went.
okay.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Mental note has been made.
Yep.
And then,
We took a short little puddle jumper. Literally, it was like a two propeller like prop plane that was like a 30-minute flight from La Palma over to Tenerife.
all right.
Tenerife is a much bigger island, and at least where we were staying, it was we were like in a resort town, basically. So
Okay.
totally different vibe, lots of people, lots of
Mm,
kids, musics, concerts, things, shopping, trinkets, beaches, all of those things. And it was way hotter.
I'm gonna take that audio and I'm just gonna throw together just a little tourism ad and just send it their way in case they want to use that. Beaches, people, things. It's so good. Yeah. You really
What's
sold
funny
it.
is,
Yeah.
what's funny is for me, all of those are negatives.
Oh, I can tell.
about
I can
that.
tell.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's part of why I'd love to take that audio.
Oh, I see. Okay. But it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And then we got to do sea kayaking. We got to go down
Ooh.
to the Gigantes cliffs, which are these huge cliffs that just drop directly into the ocean. And we got to sea kayak, which I'd
That's
never gone
amazing.
kayaking before. I don't know if you have.
I used to have a kayak. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had a sit on top kayak because I used it
Okay.
on lakes.
Yeah.
And my dog was in it with me. So that was
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it was actually really fun. I enjoyed it.
love
I
it.
just didn't expect that my legs would get tired. I figured my arms would, but my leg, because I was bracing, I was pushing against stuff. So that was unexpected.
It's a workout. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I like it so much more than like a rowboat, a canoe, something like that, because it feels manageable to be able to actually like maneuver it yourself and everything. Because you're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
just like this size where I can move it on my own with my own body. So I enjoy that a lot more than like being in a little bit of a larger boat that also paddles myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really fun. It was really beautiful. That's where I risked it and brought my phone with me to try and take pictures.
And how'd that go?
It actually went okay.
Great.
Because I had a waterproof case, so I knew that ahead of time.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize until I got there, so here's a bonus tip in case you're ever gonna go kayaking or something and you want to bring your phone to take pictures. What I didn't bring was something to make sure that it would float if I dropped it.
Uh-huh. I was going to mention that. I used to have a special phone case with a floaty that came attached to it
Yeah.
because I went kayaking and I was like, I want to be able to bring my phone.
Yeah. And it didn't even occur to me until I realized, oh, we're going to be in the ocean. If this drops, I am not getting it back up again. There's no
No.
way I'm retrieving my phone. It will be protected from the water, but I will not have it anymore.
Yes.
So I was like extra paranoid and like I had like a wrist strap and things and
Okay,
it was
good,
great.
good.
I did fine.
Great.
I didn't lose it even when I like went in the water because we had like time to do a little like snorkeling or whatever. And
Yeah,
I didn't lose
so
it.
cute.
So I felt
love
good,
that.
but I was
That
paranoid.
sounds like
so.
a joy. Oh my gosh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was
I love
really it was enjoyable. It was a fun way to spend sort of an afternoon, I think.
Nice.
And then the next day, we did another bus ride drive up into the mountains again.
Okay.
This time to an old volcano, the volcano that formed the island. It was called Teide National Park. And it was so cool from a geology science perspective because that again it's what formed the island, and so there's relatively recent lava flows, I think like within the last like 100 years or so, that are still the black sort of look where you can see it on top of everything else. There's nothing
That's
growing
so
on it yet.
cool. Oh
It's
my
really cool.
gosh.
But then we started driving to this other area and our guide was, oh my gosh, he was so good because he knew all of the geology, and so I could ask him all of the nerdy science questions about things. And what he told us was we were driving through what used to be the magma chamber of the volcano before it had erupted. So think of, this will make sense to
Oh.
you. Think of like Mount St. Helens, how it exploded and it like part of the mountain is actually gone, right? The side
Yes.
of Mount St. Helens
Yeah.
is gone.
Yeah.
So think of it kind of like that. So a huge part of this mountain is not there anymore. It had exploded in an eruption. But and so we're driving through the area that's left from that. And it used to be inside the volcano. And so there's all of these formations from the magma that was inside that is now visible to you that you can see.
That's so cool.
It was really cool. And
I
so
love
we
that.
got to see a whole bunch of stuff. I really enjoyed it. The adults really enjoyed it. The students didn't care a lot.
Okay.
Like most of them, like, so there's like a little visitor center that had a like cafeteria, and then you would have loved it, Cheryl, because you can go hike around it.
Oh, I love that. that.
So we had like an
Yes.
hour at the top, and I hiked all around and looked at stuff.
Oh, I love
Most
that.
the students did not even leave the cafeteria. They didn't even go outside to go across the street to it. Like, well, of course you don't like it because you didn't even go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was so cool. It was really, really cool. Like, yeah, very cool. I enjoyed it. Then we were supposed to go on a cable car even higher up the mountain where you couldn't drive,
Magic.
but because
Amazing.
of the wind, we couldn't.
Oh, okay.
So then we ended up going back down, and then we had a lot more time. So a couple of students went to a water park that was apparently really cool.
Oh, fun.
Some people just went shopping. We went down to the beach and got a walk down on the beach, which was beautiful. Different than
Fun.
the black sand beach, but it was just the patterns in the sand. I'm
Mm.
going to show you this picture now too,
Yes, please.
because I just kept taking pictures of the sand.
Oh my gosh, that's
Because
so
it's the-
interesting looking.
Isn't that
It
cool?
looked like water.
Yeah. So you get the ripples of like what the water leaves behind, but because there's both the basalt, the black lava rock, but then
Mhm.
also there's like the white sand from things
Oh, I
out.
love it.
So they like and the pumice and things. So they mix. So you've got these light and dark patterns.
Oh, that's
Um,
beautiful. It
oh,
reminds
it
me,
was so
have you ever
gorgeous.
seen those? They're usually marketed towards kids. They're like two pieces of plastic with some liquid between them that's like sand and liquid and color, and you can
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
mix
yeah.
it up. That's what it reminds me of, or
Yeah,
like
that's
those
exactly what it
patterns
looks
in it.
like. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. I tried
It's
to
beautiful.
see if we can get I tried to get just some video of
Yeah.
like as the waves wash up. Oh, it's freezing again there. There you go. And then the waves come down,
Hmm.
and then it just like forms and it just like streaks down
Oh,
towards the
that's
water.
so
which
satisfying to watch.
oh
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And it does. It looks like those like
Yeah.
whatever those
Yep.
turn things are that you're describing. It looks
I
exactly
love
like
that.
that. Yeah,
That's
it
so
was
fun.
so it was also a beautiful beach. Way more people on the beach,
Mm-hmm.
much more touristy, all of
Yeah.
those sorts of things, but very, very cool. And so then we just kind of chilled and hung out. And then the next day we had to leave, but we got to go to a banana plantation as our last thing on the island.
Oh my gosh, that's so
It
fun.
was so cool, Cheryl. It
Interesting.
was
That's
so
so
cool.
fun.
And the gal that was that like led the tour, who like works at the banana plantation, was hilarious. I know you're
I
not
love
really on
that.
social media, so I posted
Yeah.
a video of one of the things that she like of her talking at one point to my Instagram. But she was so funny and
I love
so
that.
engaging, and I learned all sorts of things about bananas that I had no idea
Whoa.
about. That
I
was,
love
did you
that.
know that a banana plant is a grass?
No,
Apparently, it's a
it's a
grass.
grass. It's a
Apparently,
big grass. Well,
it
isn't
is a big
bamboo as
grass.
well?
Bamboo is a grass.
So
Yep,
interesting.
yep,
Wow.
yep,
That's really cool.
yep.
I
And
love
then,
that.
Cheryl, you'll love
Yes.
this.
Okay.
After we walked through the plantation, got to see stuff, we got to taste a bunch of things. We had a tasting.
And
So we got to taste a fresh banana, which was
okay.
so good.
Oh my goodness. That
Like it
reminds me
was
of when
sweet, but
Cameron
like
was on
not
our
sugary.
podcast
Oh
and
yeah.
she talked about being in Papua New Guinea and trying the
Hmm.
bananas there, and she was like, it's completely different than
Yeah,
what we have.
I mean, it's also a different like species of banana. It's not the same banana plant. It's not the
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes
Cavendish that we
sense.
have now. So
Yeah.
that's part of it. But then they also have all these different things that they make with the bananas. They
Oh,
have this
fun.
stuff called gofio, which I actually brought some home with me. I bought some, which is like they like grind stuff up and then they make it into this paste and anyway, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's really good. And then they make like jams and
Oh
jellies
my goodness.
and all of these different like things. You will probably want to see the food, don't you?
Of course I do. You know who
Yeah,
you're talking to.
I do. I was like, I wasn't going to show pictures, but I was like, you
Why
look
is that
here.
so cute? Oh, those are the
Because it's a
jams and jellies.
tasting.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love a tasting.
right. Because it's like a little
Thanks for
tasting, so we
remembering.
get to
Yes.
try all the different
Oh
all
my
the
gosh, I
different
love that.
things that are like that they make, and there's like the tray, so everybody like gets a little piece of like
Fun.
it's like cracker toast, so
Okay,
it's
yeah.
like a
Yeah,
little piece
yeah.
of bread, but it's like harder and crunchy a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. It was really good. Oh, that's in the shop.
Cute.
I don't think I took a picture of the That's the Gofio over on the right-hand side.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then there's the like a dried banana there on the left-hand side.
You got to try so many things.
I did get to
I
try
love
so many things.
that.
And then they also make banana wine.
What?
I tried the banana wine.
Interesting. But here's the thing, you don't like alcohol.
I don't.
So
No.
it's hard to like, how about your coworkers? So like, was there any adult present who could
Yes.
give an accurate
Oh, yes.
read? And
Yes,
what
Ashley,
did you
because
think of it?
Ashley works at a winery. She works at 2 wineries, and she's
Okay.
getting like certifications and working on classes like towards
Amazing.
like
What
wine
was
stuff.
Ashley's thoughts?
She said it didn't really taste like banana to her at all, and it didn't
Okay.
taste all that much like a wine, but she said it was good.
I mean, that makes sense because when you make wine out of different things, they're pretty like different in their
Yeah,
how they end
I
up and everything.
I could taste the alcohol, and I was like, "Oh,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
fine."
That
But
makes sense.
but then they
yeah.
also made a liqueur as well
Interesting.
that several people bought, adults, of course, not the
Yeah.
students,
Yeah.
that they really liked.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So that was our last day
That's so
on
cool.
Tenerife. Oh, we did go up because we had to fly out of the north part of the island. We went to a little town called La Laguna, and we all agreed that was the best part of the island because it would. I'll show you one final picture. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize for
going
showing me
so long.
pictures. This is great.
It was.
We'll put some on our Instagram too. So there we go.
Yes,
Then our
we'll have to
listeners
put some
get
on
to see your
Instagram.
wonderful photos as well.
It was a just
Oh my
super
gosh.
fun, quaint city. And we
Oh,
did a
it looks
quick
so
little.
nice.
Oh, it was so cool, Cheryl. It was so beautiful and just picturesque. It had like multiple colors. I took lots of pictures, so I'm scrolling through quickly.
Oh, I
But
love
like
this.
walking
Oh
down
my
like
goodness,
the
I would love to go
city.
there. Are you
Oh
kidding
yeah.
me?
And we even actually made this suggestion to the company. It was like, we should stay here, not
Yes.
where we were at the resort town, because
Yes.
this has more like local flair and
Character, yeah.
feel. We
Yes.
could do a day trip down to the resort and have a beach day and do the kayaking and
Yes.
do all that stuff. But this was the place that we thought was really, really cool. And would have enjoyed. Look at, I mean, just like that light pastel blue
Oh, I
and all
love
these
it.
colors.
It's
It was just,
beautiful.
it had so much character. And then, oh, we got to have lunch. Do I have pictures of lunch? You would have loved
You
it.
better.
The restaurant was like over 100 years old. I don't remember
my
how old it
goodness.
was. Maybe it was like 200 or 300 years old. I don't remember. And we had like local food from the Canary Islands. And I didn't take
Oh,
pictures of all the
wow.
foods, but there was all sorts of food. So those are stuffed mushrooms. I didn't really care for because I don't really like
That looks
mushrooms, but I tried
amazing.
everything. And we had like some squid, which I also didn't like, but I tried it.
for
They
you.
they brought so many things. This is like in the restaurant. You can just kind of see in the character. The desserts were great though. They brought out like 4
Ooh.
different desserts.
Are those chocolate cups?
No,
they're not.
Those are
At first
ceramic
it looked like
cups.
chocolate cups.
No,
That looks great.
it was so good. It was so
Oh my
good.
goodness.
It
Oh,
was
I
great.
love
And they
that.
just kept bringing us food and it was great food. But
That's
yeah.
the best.
And then we flew back to Madrid late that evening. We stayed in an airport hotel overnight and then flew out the next morning and flew home.
Oh my goodness, Ryan. Whirlwind adventure. But I have
Yeah.
a question for you.
Yes, Cheryl.
Ryan,
Yes, Cheryl.
if you could take me with you to just one part of this trip, what would it be and why?
I'm going to actually break the rule and I'm going to say 2 things
Okay, fine.
because there's the place that I would want to take you.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's the place that I think that if I were to pick for what I think you would get the most enjoyment out of,
Yeah.
I would take you to that last restaurant. You would have loved
Oh
it
my
because
gosh,
of the
yes.
character and then the city
Oh.
and then all the food and all of the things that you get to
I'm
try.
so into that. Yep.
As a foodie, you would have loved that. That's where I
Yes.
would take you.
Great. I'm on board.
But for where I would take you for what I would want you to experience, it would have been the stargazing. I would have taken you to the stargazing because it was
Cool.
so cool. And I think you would enjoy that too. I
Yes.
mean, you would have enjoyed that too. But I think the food is what I have to say for you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's so fun. Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
And then Ryan, what's your
Yes.
next trip?
Well, we are recording this at the end of July, and I actually leave for my next trip on Saturday. Today's a Wednesday. I leave on
Ooh.
Saturday.
Oh my goodness.
We-
Tell me all about it.
We are doing a family trip to Yellowstone for my dad's 70th birthday.
Wow.
We have an Airbnb just outside of the west side of the park, and we've got it from Sunday to Friday. And so I'll leave probably Saturday morning, and then I'm gonna drive out because you got to drive through Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could fly and then rent a car, or I could just drive my own car.
Yep.
That's easier.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a big, long road trip, basically, because we're going to spend so much time in the car.
Yeah.
So that's my next trip. It'll
That's
be
exciting.
it is. At the moment, I'm not looking forward to it. I think you and I have talked about this before, how I've gotten to a different place in my travel experience than where I used to be. Whereas I get closer to a trip, instead of getting excited, I get to feel like, I just want to stay home in
Yeah.
anticipation for the travel part of the
Yeah.
traveling. And so I still haven't figured out exactly where I'm like my route to the Airbnb. It's just shy of a 12-hour drive from here. I don't really want to do it in one day, so I'm going to do it in two because I
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
But that means I stop somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there aren't really any places that I want to stop in between, if that makes sense. So like
Yeah.
I'm basically deciding between Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and Missoula. And I think,
Missoula. I
yeah,
liked
so I think,
Missoula.
did you?
Oh, we stayed there for a few days a few years ago, and
Okay.
I
Oh, that's
loved it.
right. In your road trip.
Yes. Oh my
So Missoula
goodness.
is the one that I think I would like to do. It's about 8 hours
Mm-hmm.
drive from here. So it's more than halfway, but I think I'm more interested in making it to Missoula on the first day, I think.
There's something nice about day two kind of being short sometimes on a
Yeah,
road trip. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but we'll see. There's a part of me, and I know Daryl was in the hotel industry for a really long time. So, I go back and forth between the part of me that wants to know where I'm staying and have a reservation, and the part of me that's like, yeah, but there's probably going to be a hotel room available. Like, I probably don't have to do that ahead of time. Because like I could decide anywhere, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, Missoula, and I could just stop when I'm like, I'm done driving, and just stop.
You absolutely could. Yep. Especially with the
Um,
internet and being able to just like make a hotel reservation like moments before you walk into a hotel. I mean, like it's
yeah,
so easy to not have that nailed down. So you definitely could do that. Yeah.
yeah. So I have to decide if I'm gonna keep my options open like that, or if I'm just gonna decide on Missoula and see if I can find a place. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I have to decide. But that's the trip. That's my next trip.
That's
So,
exciting though.
what about
Um,
you, Cheryl?
oh my
What's your
gosh.
next trip
I have
or trips?
three trips. I have three trips booked right now.
3 trips booked.
I have 3 times I get to fly on a plane. 3 different trips I get to fly on a plane for this year.
3 different plane trips,
Yes.
even, which is a
Which
bit,
I
you haven't
love.
done a lot of plane trips.
I
Like
know.
a lot of your trips have been the road trips the last,
Yeah, not
what, five
recently.
years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little because of COVID. I mean, different
Yep.
things like that. Last year I was on a plane more, and that was really good. I love being on a plane. It's so good.
That's true. That's true.
Um, so next week I have a little work trip. I'm just gone from a Monday night to a Thursday night, heading
Yep.
to Nashville. I work there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's like flying out after work Monday night and then flying back here Thursday night. So I have two
Mm,
evenings to play with
yeah.
other than like working time, right?
Right.
Um, so I have a plan for one evening, and then the other
Okay.
evening I'll do whatever I want. And I got a ticket to the Grand Ole Opry.
Fun.
Yes, I'm really excited. I got to go to Nashville a year ago for work, and I'd never been there before,
Okay.
and it was really fun to see. And I don't mind traveling alone, so it was like fine by me
Yeah.
to just explore a city alone. Um, and I saw a fair amount of things that I wanted to, and had food, of course, because that's important. Um,
Yep.
I think I looked into the Grand Ole Opry, and maybe they didn't have shows when I was there. I feel like
Hmm.
I looked into it last time, but I don't 100% know that to be true. It sounds like it's kind of like a variety show a little bit, where they bring in
Oh,
like
okay.
several musical artists. The night I'm going, I've heard of one of them, and that's really fun because I saw them on this like competition show singing competition show,
Oh,
and I really liked
okay.
them. And so I was like, well, that's fun. And then they
That's
always say on
cool.
their website as well, like, and more, because then I think they'll like surprise you
Oh,
with somebody. Um,
okay.
right before I'm going to be there, Stephen Curtis Chapman is going to be there
Oh my
actually.
gosh.
But I'm like, I'm so bummed I'm going to miss that because he's
Yeah.
adorable. Um, anyway, so that's my next thing next week. I come
Okay.
back from there and then head out on a volunteer trip with a small group from my church up to Alaska. And we're going to
Okay.
be in Kenai, Alaska,
Okay.
which is on the
Don't know where that
Kenai
is.
Peninsula, which is
Kenai.
a 2-hour drive from Anchorage. So Anchorage like is the
Okay.
big city
Yeah.
if you picture that. And then a couple hour drive away is Kenai. There's like Kenai National Park is there too.
Oh, and it's like on like a peninsula or something.
Yeah, the Kenai Peninsula.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
Yep.
Okay.
It almost looks like a peninsula. Yeah, so we're going to be volunteering. We're going to be helping to build an
Right.
office for an organization there and
Cool.
doing a lot of work. And then I think we get one play day. So I
Okay.
think we will maybe get to go to the national park, something like that. But
Yeah. The
I've been to
Fjords National Park.
I know that sounds really fun,
You might
huh?
get to see fjords.
I hope so.
Oh, that'd be
Also
cool.
check another national park off the list. I would love that.
Yeah.
I've only been to Alaska once and it was on a family vacation when I was in middle school.
Mm.
I
Mm.
keep teasing Daryl that he would love to live there. And he's like, well, of course I'd love to live there. So I'm excited to take him. He's never been. So,
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's
I'm
fun.
excited to be volunteering and everything too. I think it's gonna be really cool.
Yes.
And then the big one, Ryan,
Yes,
that
Cheryl.
I'm trying to think I've told you more about than this podcast. So the last we talked on this
Yes.
podcast, we got our passports, and then I think we talked about like hopefully this works out. I think was like the last update on
Yes.
this podcast.
Yes.
Okay, we booked the redo trip.
Woo!
It is happening.
Redo honeymoon.
Yes, yeah.
Yay.
So on our 5-year anniversary, we will be on the trip that was our plan A for our honeymoon.
So as a
And it will
reminder,
be
where is that?
so that is Prague, which is the Czech Republic, and then Dresden,
Mhm.
Germany.
Okay.
And
And you're going to
I'm
see the
pumped.
markets, the Christmas
We're
markets.
there for the Christmas markets. That's the whole thing. I'm so excited. I am in such a better headspace than in 2019 when I technically had this book tripped and was also like trying to plan it, but wondering like, are we going to be able to go?
Right.
And then also just, I was so stressed at the time.
Yeah.
It was hard to plan a trip. I was planning a wedding, and so,
Yep.
it's been really cool now because I can plan a trip now. We're good. And I also,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite things. And so it's really fun being
Yep.
able to do this bigger trip. We're doing it, we're gonna be there for 2 weeks. And our original plan was like week and a half or less. It
Mhm.
was not as long. Um,
Okay.
so flying in and out of Prague,
Okay.
and then the train to Dresden's like little over 2 hours. So no big
Oh,
deal.
that's so great.
We decided to plant Dresden right in the middle of it because I was asking Daryl, I was like,
Oh,
we
okay.
could land in Prague, head to the train station, make our way to Dresden right away, and then
Yep.
come back and be in Prague for when we're flying out. Or we could end in Dresden, but then we still have to come back to Prague, which means like, are we almost wasting a night by like the night before our plane leaves or like you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
he was like, what if we just put in the middle? And I was like, great, because it's kind of fun because it's long enough. I mean, 2 cities in 2 weeks is like so slow for me. I'm so
Yeah.
excited about that. But also it means like I purposely booked us a place in a different part of town when we come back
Yeah.
and are in Prague again. So like there's a river and we're staying on one side of the river the first time and then the
Okay.
other side of the river the second time.
Oh, fun.
I have a couple things booked. I'm also reminding myself like we're going to be there in the winter. I've never
Yeah.
been in Europe in the winter.
Yeah, me neither.
And it will be cold and snowy. We'll be in walkable cities, but like, way less daylight and everything. So I think it's just going to be a very different pace as a whole. Just like,
Mm-hmm.
if we're at home in the winter, it's like you're not necessarily filling your day in the way that you are in the summer. And
Yeah.
so I am looking forward to that and just being like, I
Yeah.
think it's fine if it's more chill and or we do less things or just take it at a different pace. We have the time to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I'm looking forward to that too. Looking forward to the markets for so many reasons. I think one though is we're mainly doing Airbnbs. We're doing one hotel and then we're doing Airbnbs. So like 2/3 of the time will be places with a kitchen. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I want to shop at a market and buy ingredients to make dinner and go home and cook dinner. Like in where we're
Yeah.
staying. Like that's like part of the dream, I think. Um in Prague, I booked us a food tour. So I'm excited about that. I did
Nice.
that on day 2, so it's early enough that if we
Mm-hmm.
get like suggestions of where we should check out
Mm-hmm.
in general, that we'll have time to go there. And then I also booked us a Jazz River cruise,
Ooh.
also in Prague, and it's a dinner cruise as well. And in New Orleans on our honeymoon, we went on a Jazz River dinner cruise. And so I was like, oh, that'd be really fun.
Oh, that's super
Isn't that a cute? It's
cool.
cute. So
Yeah.
I think those are the only things I have booked right now.
That's a
I'm
lot.
trying to, yeah, I'm trying to not book a ton though. But we're just doing our learning and everything. But yeah, and then on our way back, we're doing a long layover in Amsterdam, which was actually originally also a part of our plans 5
To
years
be
ago.
able to, like, how long? When you say long layover, like a day or like overnight?
Overnight, we're getting there in the afternoon, and then our
Mm-hmm.
flight to Seattle is the next morning. So we'll have the afternoon and evening
Okay.
to go do something in Amsterdam, which I'm really excited
Okay.
about because it's not high on my list to go see independently, but I
Mm.
would like to go see Amsterdam.
Oh,
So it's such a
interesting.
fun
Okay.
way to like tack it on
Yeah.
to another
So,
trip.
logistics procedural question for you.
Yes.
How do you do that? How do you book it so that you have more time? Like, I've heard of people doing that, but I've
Yes.
never actually done that myself.
Yeah, because I've done this before
Yeah.
on my way. Although, okay, I will answer, but also the time I did this was on my way to Spain. I did a long layover in Paris and it was the whole day.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I am way more excited to do a long layover on my way back because it means I won't be jet lagged by that point.
Yeah.
So I won't be like dead tired.
Yeah.
Because I walked around Paris for the day and I loved it, but I was in that haze that you get when
Yep.
you're jet lagged. Um,
Yep.
okay, so what I do is I obviously, okay, I'll just walk you through. Type in where I'm flying from, where I'm flying to. I
Yep. Are
check
you like on
on
Google Flights or?
maybe I'm on Google Flights, or maybe by this point I've already kind of figured out like an airline I want.
Okay. So now
Depends.
you've
I've done
gone
it on
to
Google
the
Flights or
airline's
like a specific
website.
airline.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then I'm clicking on one stop or less because obviously I would like to do
Okay.
only one stop. And then I search, I have it sort by length because you want the longest length with one stop.
Oh, okay.
And then you're like, and then it shows you usually the first flight, and then it shows you the length of the layover, and then the second flight, and you can see what airport that is in it as well.
Gotcha.
Highly recommend because it
Okay.
feels like just getting like a free country or a free city
Yeah.
out of the deal. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, I also try to do a minimum of a 4 hour layover if I'm doing like a normal layover because I've experienced the 1 hour layover before and it was awful.
Yeah.
That was in the Paris airport too, which is not a great
Mm.
airport to fly through. But yeah, I love it. I don't know if I'd care about doing it both ways, but I do try to do it when I can, and I'm excited to be able to do that because then that just is like, oh, that's really fun. I get like a little sample platter
Bonus.
of Amsterdam for free. So
Nice.
yeah. So I'm so excited. It's exciting to be planning this and everything, and I have not left the country since 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, which is maybe the longest I've not left the country before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than like my childhood. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm pumped. I'm so excited. Yeah, Daryl really encouraged me to book it and just make it happen, which was amazing. So
That's
it's
great.
gonna be great. Yeah, I'm
so
very
happy for you.
excited. Thank you. Oh my goodness. And I'm happy for you in Yellowstone. for when you're there.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was fun talking about travel. Thanks for listening along with us.
Thanks to Beth Reed Miller for her artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
Until next time, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you.
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and a little love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to explore, and all our troubles here want them to be